Last Sunday, since I was in Connecticut with family, I visited my home congregation, the Unitarian Society of Hartford. They have a new minister who actually grew up in the area and went to the same high school as my wife at almost the same time. And he invited me to do the chalice lighting. It was my first time there in some years, thanks to the pandemic, so it was especially lovely to see so many familiar faces, to catch up with old friends, to hear about the youth I worked with who are now well into their adult lives, as well as to meet some new people who are part of the congregation. Of course, since it has been 17 years, there were a number of faces I didn't see. There was a time, maybe a decade ago, when it seemed like every month there'd be an email announcement that someone I'd known and worked with and sang with and shared with had died. Some other people I knew when I was a member have since started going to other UU congregations. Some have moved out of the area, and not just those former youth. One person who's moved away was the tenor section lead in the choir when I was there. He's now a music teacher with Fairfax County Public Schools here in Northern Virginia. He and his wife have a young son, and he recently posted something on Facebook about being a father. He's given me permission to share what he wrote, so here it is. I casually mentioned to an Uber driver the other day that my wife travels for work. And the driver said, "So what do you do when she's away? Babysit?" "No, sir, I do not babysit my own child. I care for him when she is away as I do when she is here. Just maybe a tiny bit more of a manageable coverage of our division of labor. Repeat after me. Dads are or should be parents, not babysitters." There's an important analogy here with being a member of a congregation. Put simply, just as people with children are parents, not babysitters, so people who've joined a congregation are members, not volunteers. Being a parent is not just babysitting your own child, nor is being a church member just volunteering in your own congregation. That's what we're talking about today, but first we're going to sing. The story is told that a congregant once approached Henry Ward Beecher, the Congregationalist minister, social reformer, and brother of abolitionist Harriet Beecher Stowe. They said to him, "Mr. Beecher, I have a good horse to sell. He's a good family horse, works double or alone, is gentle, intelligent, not easily frightened, will stand without hitching, and is thoroughly sound and reliable." Beecher replied, "I can't buy your horse, but I'd like to have it as a member of my church." UU ministers tell this story to emphasize that you can have a congregation full of fearless dreamers, intellectual giants, historical wizards, mystical activists, and keen educators, but without stewards, few church ventures remain hardy. Stewards are the veritable workhorses of parish life. Now, many of us hear the word stewards and immediately think of the canvass, the annual pledge drive, the dreaded ask for money to fund the budget. We need to unlearn that. Stewardship is not just about money. It's not even primarily about money. Rather, stewardship is about taking responsibility for something that has been entrusted to us. That's why synagogues and churches that have a creation care program talk about stewardship of the earth, not because they're doing a pledge drive for the planet, but because they're taking responsibility for their place in the web of life. This is what it means to be a member of a congregation, to be a good steward, to accept responsibility for its present, to help make it the covenanted community our vision says we can be. Now, you could argue that stewardship starts as soon as someone comes in the door, But in signing the membership book, a new member officially agrees to be a steward of the congregation. That's why it doesn't make any sense to speak of church members volunteering in their own congregation. If you're a member here, you're not a volunteer, you're a steward. This was first brought home to me some years ago, thanks to an article written by Disciples Minister Erin Wathen. Wathen explains that she was writing about everything going on in her church, noting in particular her gratitude to all of the members who had worked to get the church ready for Easter. And she wrote that it takes a whole village of volunteers. But then she realized volunteer wasn't the right word. As she put it, talking about the church's own members volunteering at their own church is like talking about parents babysitting their own children. If you're with your own child, as my old tenor section lead said to his Uber driver, that's not called babysitting, it's called parenting. Unfortunately, churches of all sizes have adopted the language of volunteering because that's the language that permeates our society when it comes to engaging new people by giving them tasks, such as answering questions or helping others find the toilets. When you're a volunteer, Wathen explains, you're an outside resource, stepping in to help an organization in need. Volunteering is what we do when we pick up trash at the park, or build a house with habitat, or help sort food at the local pantry. Volunteering may be what you do at a place that is important to you, but not at a place that belongs to you. Rather, when you're a member of a church, you are asked to serve as a lay leader, a greeter, an RE teacher, or on a justice team. It's your own place, Wathen explains, your own people. So of course you help take care of it. Of course you do yard work and make coffee and teach the kids and sing in the choir and whatever else it is you do for the home and the people that you love. So I'd like us all to stop talking about our own members as volunteers. They're not volunteers, they're stewards of this community. And we should stop asking our members to volunteer because they don't volunteer, they serve. As members, this congregation belongs to us. This is our religious home, and you don't volunteer in your own home. Today then, I'd like to recognize our members, as well as our supporters, friends, and others who serve or have served the mission of this congregation, who have practiced good stewardship by accepting responsibility for the UUFP in the present and helping to make it the covenanted community our vision says we can be. And if you are on Zoom, you can participate in this too if you turn your camera on. If you are or have ever been a trustee of this congregation, please raise your hand. Thank you. You may put your hands down. If you serve or have ever served on the policy board, please raise your hands. Quite a few. Thank you. If you have ever served as a committee chair, please raise your hands. Or two. If you serve or have ever served on a committee or a task force or team, please raise your hands. Thank you. If you've ever been up here as a lay leader or a guest preacher on a Sunday morning, please raise your hands. A few of you too. If you have ever provided music on a Sunday morning, playing an instrument or singing, please raise your hands. If you made coffee or brought food and refreshments on a Sunday morning, raise your hands. If you have newcomers ushered people into the sanctuary, collected the offering, please raise your hands. Thank you. If you have taught a children's RE class or worked with our group or assisted in the nursery with kids day in, please raise your hand. If you have led a forum, an adult RE class, or convened a small group program or facilitated a fellowship, please raise your hand. If you have helped repair or maintain buildings inside or out, or have worked with the grounds, please raise your hands. If you've given someone a ride to an appointment, to church, or brought someone food or groceries or flowers at home, please raise your hand. If you have offered someone an ear to listen or shoulder to cry on or a hug to comfort them, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you have organized or helped run a congregational event like the auction, yard sale, or pumpkin patch, please raise your hand. If you have attended on a witness or justice team, or met with your legislators, or gone to a demonstration or march, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you have been to a Tidewater cluster gathering or General Assembly or represented us as a delegate, please raise your hands. If you have brought food to a social or potluck, or laughed at a friendly joke, or greeted someone entering a room, or helped someone find something, or washed the dishes, or made space for someone else at the table, or turned off the lights after everyone else has left, please raise your hand. Thank you. You may put your hands down. Let's give one another a hand for all the ways in which we serve this congregation. Yes, it takes a village, not of volunteers, but of stewards. Each and every one of us who are members, many who are otherwise committed non-members, this community belongs to us, and we belong here, so we do what we can. For in the words of Edward Everett Hale, one of only 2 Unitarian or Universalist ministers to ever serve as chaplain to the United States Senate, I am one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can still do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. I'm going to ask you some wondering questions now, and I'll give you a little time after each to reflect. Jeffrey will also put each question on the screen as I ask it. I wonder what you are thankful for this day. I wonder what is in your flame of memory and hope. I wonder when you have been someone else. I wonder how you have practiced good stewardship here. Over the years, I've tried to keep a list of all the ways in which members and otherwise committed non-members can live into their belonging at the UUFP. Sometimes something on the list has gone away, but usually I find I need to add something to it. Any list is always incomplete, remember? My current list is on this green card, which we'll hand out to you in a moment, and I'll put the link to it on Zoom. On it, front and back, there are 36 ways, as I've titled this card, to grow, connect, engage, and inspire at the UUFP, though many of the ways include more than one activity. I've roughly ordered these according to the amount of time, commitment, experience, skill, or whatever else I think it takes to do them, from going to today's salad social, say, as the first item, all the way to serving in an elected position as the last. Obviously, your mileage may vary, but please don't think that this is a list of things you need to do in order to become more involved here. You can't do everything, nor should you try. And a few of them, you do have to be a member. So for our activity today, we're going to hand out these cards, as well as some pencils. I invite you first to go through the list and check off anything that you currently do. Then go through the list a second time and circle anything you think you could do or would like to do. After you've had a few minutes for this, Anne will invite us to share. Volunteering, as Aaron Wathen explained, is like visiting someone else's home, helping them out in some way that may well make a difference, but it's not our home. Being a member, by contrast, is like working on our own home, contributing to something that's part of who we are. In becoming members of this community, we embrace our commitments to serve, to be good stewards, to take responsibility for making a difference in the life of our community because we belong to it and it belongs to us. Of course, what that is going to look like depends on who you are and what you can do. No two members serve in the same way, which is a good thing. If every member and committed non-member served our mission in the exact same limited number of ways, it would be like everyone bringing potato salad to a potluck. What makes a potluck enjoyable, what enriches the life of a congregation, is the variety that we bring to it. That said, just like at a potluck, it's important in community that everyone gets a chance to be fed. Suppose there's one person who is always responsible for setting up the potluck and arranging the chairs and doing the washing up and taking out the trash. If the others at the potluck just want to enjoy being fed, and they leave all of the organizing and cleaning up to someone else, then that person, as essential as they are to others' enjoyment, doesn't get to enjoy the food themselves. This is why we can't look at a list like this and think it's just about working through all the things in order. And when we've reached the end of the list, it somehow means we've won. Rather, many of the items on the front of the card are about being fed. And most of the items on the back of the card are about providing the food. Being a member, being a good steward, means finding a balance between both. So earlier, as you went through this list and checked off anything and everything you currently do, if you found yourself checking off items that are mostly on the front, it's natural and obvious to start looking at the items on the back to see if there's anything you could circle that you think you could do or would like to do to help with providing the food that you've been enjoying. What's not so obvious, but is nonetheless extremely important for your spiritual health, is that if you find yourself checking off items that are mostly on the back, you need to look at the items on the front to see if there's anything you could circle. If you lead programs or chair a committee or serve on the board, you're already giving a lot of yourself to feed other people. So it's essential that you make the most of opportunities to simply receive the benefits of community so that you can enjoy being fed as well. As good stewards of this congregation, taking care of this community as we would take care of our own home, may we offer our own gifts and receive the gifts of others in turn, feeding one another and contributing to something so much bigger than ourselves. For this is what we are called to do as members, growing, connecting, engaging, and inspiring together at this table where a feast is spread for everyone to enjoy. May it be so.